Well, in today's video, we're going to go over some facts and figures. I've been doodling up the prices and pieces. Look at that. I got all the stuff. Figured it out. Oh, what does that say? Oh my God, that's a lot of money. We're going to go over what I think it's going to cost to build this car from start to finish. 69 GTX that's going to become a 1969 Dodge Charger Daytona. And then we're going to look at the C10 project. I'm going to start hot and heavy on that right now. We're going to see what I need to do to that to get it to the sandblaster. We're going to drag out all the sheet metal for it, take a look at that, and I'm going to try to get over these numbers I just looked at because I don't have that much money. Let's go look at the C10. Like I said in my last video, I've been working a ton of work at my, watch out for the oil, dipstick. Working a ton of hours at my day job, and I haven't had time to do nothing. A little bit off camera, I took the 440 apart. We did a teardown video last time, and I've kind of just like thrown it back together here. If you missed the last video, I bought a 5T440 EHP, which is, as far as I can tell, a 1975 440 cast crank, high horsepower, or horsepower HP motor, high horsepower, high power. I'm not sure what the 4 and the 22 mean. That could be a date, but it had a 100 amp alternator on it, so I'm going to assume that it was in a police car. It also came with a 727 transmission, and it is a 225 horsepower or something like that, 440, low compression. So I took it all apart last time. Found a bent and a broken pusher on this side, which I think had a stuck valve, which appears to be unstuck now. But I'm probably going to send this out to the machine shop, get it bored 30 over, and put a I want to put a hydraulic roller camshaft in it, and basic rebuild, nothing, no fancy parts, but I might even run the factory cast iron manifold, because the aftermarket manifolds, unless you get an air gap intake, which is pretty tall, they said all the aluminum ones are pretty much the same as the cast iron one performance-wise, so I might just run it all up, or I might get like a 68, 69 style intake to put on it, because I'm going to paint this orange and dress it up like a 69 motor to go with the 69 car here, but it's a 70s smog motor. But essentially we'll make it into a 69 high horsepower or HP motor with a rebuild. So anyways, everything's good here. Probably won't do that till next year. The one thing I'm a little worried about, for whatever reason, the coolant passages, this thing is full of rust and sludge. Like full of rust, and I've never seen anything like this. It looks like, like it's from out of the Titanic. Maybe this is one of the extra engines they had on there. I don't know, but it's extremely rusty. So I'm probably going to get some of that Evaporust stuff. And like you can see here where the water pump housing was, look how terrible it is. It's the block's got to be full of rust for whatever reason. So I'm going to pickle some Evaporust and like turn it and let it set for like a month or two, and turn it and let it try eat it out. Look here, it rotted through the freeze plug, soft plug on the head. So I'm going to try to get some of the rust out of it before I take it to the machine shop. They'll hot tank it and stuff like that, but if I can dissolve some of it with Evaporust, that'd be good. So anyways, 440's chilling. I'm going to bag it up and go. There's probably not going to be a lot of action tonight, but I'm going to get ready. We're going to start the C10 right now. This next video, or this next bunch of videos is going to be on the C10. What I want to do, not in this video, but I'm going to explain what I'm going to do, is I'm going to saw a bunch of the rust off this, and I'm going to take this to the sandblaster. This weekend I got some guys coming over to do some stuff, and we're going to pick this cab up off the frame and set up my trailer so I can get it to the sandblaster next week. But what I'm going to do is cut the rockers out so I can get to the inner rockers, get them blasted. I'm going to cut the rusted panel out of the roof here. Might be if you can see it there. I'm going to take this panel. I have a bunch of sheet metal here I bought. Like here is a brand new entire inner roof panel here. I bought this off eBay actually because it was cheaper than buying it from all the suppliers. I was able to get it for there. And it's pretty close. There's one little ding in it here, but it's got all this lip and stuff, so I'm going to replace the whole inner skin. I got a whole other pile of parts here, floor panels and stuff. Maybe we'll dig into this and see what I got, see where the rockers line up and stuff like that. But what I want to do like I said, get that cut out. I'm going to cut out the bottoms of the cab corners where the rust is here so the sandblaster can get up in there and blast around. He's going to blast it here. There'll be a hole in the floor. I'm going to cut a chunk out of the other cab to repair this. But this cab is way more solid. All the cab mounts are good. So that's what's going to happen with that. We'll get it all blasted up. I got to buy some primer, some good quality primer, because it'll come back. I would have them prime it, but it's a fortune to have them do it, so I'll have to end up doing it here. Get it back in bare metal. He'll prime it. All the spots, like the inner rockers and stuff, this got to be replaced. And I believe we'll open up the panels in a minute. Actually, we'll do that to see what we got. But I'm pretty sure I got that panel. But I'll get this thing all prepped up. If you didn't see the frame, I took the box off. This frame is like the nicest frame I've ever seen. There's absolutely zero pinning in any of this steel. This truck was from South Carolina originally, and this frame is amazing. It's been sandblasted, painted, completely restored, like all brand new down to the emergency brake cables, so I'm really happy with that. And once we get this guy blasted up, oh, there's some filler in it there. Didn't see that before. Dang it. We'll get this guy blasted up and ready to go, and then we can start hammering on the metalwork and start assembling it on this chassis and putting this truck together and get it done hopefully by the winter time. Because that's what you want to do, is build a truck and then not be able to drive it because it's winter. Before we get out the panels for this truck, I had some downtime at lunchtime the other day, and I went on to AMD's website. Let's do some facts and figuring on this GTX that's going to become a Charger. I added up all the parts I got to get for it, roughly for the whole build-ish, and it's a lot of money. It's not as much money as I think it could be, but it's a lot of money. So here's the final part. But let's just go over, here's the AMD list of what I need from AMD. I need, now, an actual 69 Dodge Charger Daytona, which this car will become, uses 70, I think, Cornet front fenders. Those fenders are $1,000 a piece and up if you can find them, and that's usually $1,000 ones usually have rust in them. So I'm thinking about buying 68, 69 Charger fenders and building my own extensions to the front of them, because they're essentially the same, except they're the 70. If you could find 70 Charger fenders, I think you could probably use those too, but they're also horrendously expensive. Like a guy on eBay a guy on Facebook Marketplace had a nearly new old stock 70 Charger fender. He wanted $3,500 for it. I ain't paying $3,500 for fenders. So I'll probably buy a pair of 68, 69 AMD fenders. They're $899 plus freight. So essentially what I need from AMD, I'm just rattled off real fast. I need two front fenders. I need a fiberglass 70 hood, which you can buy a Charger Daytona style hood in fiberglass, or $600. Buy them on the internet. I need a pair of quarter panels, full quarters, 69 Charger quarters. They're $549 plus freight. I need the 69 tail panel for the taillight panel. That's $500 plus $25 boxing fee. The rear valance, $250. Rear bumper hangers, $159. Rear cross member is $239 plus $20 mounting fee. The shock mount here in the frame, I thought I needed that, but I don't. That saves me $300 there, but if you needed to buy one, that's $300. Taillight reinforcement panels, $55. Trunk drop downs left and right. They go on extend the floor out to the trunk, or from the trunk floor out to the quarters. They're $120 a piece. Trunk floor, $369. Floor braces, $200. Trunk hinge braces, $69 a piece left and right. This needs a door jamb on this side. This car's been hit and had a replacement quarter panel put on it. You can actually see it doubled up here. Needs a door jamb. Door jam's $159. Speaking of doors, door shells, need a pair of 69 Charger door shells. They're $900 a piece plus freight. Big freight cost. Fender splash shields are $219 for the front fenders. The rear section of the floor under the seat back here, I need to replace that. That is, where is it? Rear floor, that's $529. Wheelhouses need inner wheelhouse and outer wheelhouse. The inner wheelhouses are $119 a piece. The outer wheelhouses are $139 a piece. so about $250 a side. Need them. I need to replace the driver's side outer rocker panel. That's $300 on that side. Need a trunk lid. Now, these are all new prices from AMD. Now, if I can find used stuff that's reasonable, I'll buy used stuff. I'll probably go to Chrysler's at Carlisle next year into the swap meet. I won't show at the show, but I'll go walk in the door. I can probably do that. Let's not go there. So, 69 trunk lids, $800 trunk lid. Then you got to shorten it for the Daytona, because Daytona has the rear window plug, and they shorten the deck lid, and they make a panel that goes on the front of that. So need a trunk lid. Trunk floor valance braces that tie to the rear valance are $140. Trunk gutters for the rain gutters, they're $100 a piece. The lock support, that's $89. The rear torque boxes down here where the front of the springs mount, I'm not sure if they're good or not. They might be. If I have to buy those, they're $200. Oh, and I got to replace the rear frame rails. They're $400 a piece. So, have you pulled your hair out yet? I have. So there's all the prices. I added it up, and then I added tax. I figured 8% tax-ish. So you're looking at the sheet metal to put this car together. $11,202.84. That's with tax. Plus shipping, I figured $1,000 to ship all that stuff, because a lot of it's got big things. So we'll say $1,000 shipping. I'm looking at roughly $12,000 worth of sheet metal to put this car back together. Holy shamoly, did I just say that? I did. $12,000 in sheet metal. But essentially, that'd be rebodying the whole car on the outside and the frame rails. So, unbelievable. So, I paid $5,500 for this car. We just added $12,000 to it, so we're at $17,500, right? Now, we're at $17,500. The 440 that's right here, you're hanging on, I figured to get that rebuilt is like a stock rebuild with a cam. Now, granted, a roller hydraulic camshaft for this, like a crane cam and lifter set, is close to $1,000. So just keep that in mind. So I'm going to say, 30 thousandths overbore, piston, like they'll do like 9-to-1 pistons for it, pop them up a little bit in the hole. 3-angle valve job, rebuild the heads, gaskets, bearings, blah, 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 blah. Have the machine shop put the long block together. Probably $4,000-ish, $3,500 to $4,000, I'm going to guess, all day long for the engine rebuild, basic rebuild. I had about $500 to get the 727 rebuilt. I'll have it out of the car, obviously. Take it to the tranny shop, have them go through it, put a shift kit in it. $500. It'll probably need a converter for this 440 if we put a cam and stuff in it, which I didn't add into this, but a converter is probably $400, I guess, ish. So we were at, I'm sorry, I forgot to include the cost of the car in here, so okay. So we'll figure it up, Billy. Forget the $5,500 that I said earlier for the car. So we're at $12,200 in sheet metal and parts. I'm going to add $4,500 for the engine. That gives me $16,700 for putting the car together with a rebuilt engine and transmission. Now, on the interior, obviously, I don't have an interior in the car. It's bare bones. I have the glass for the car and the window regulators and stuff like that. But it needs a dash and stuff, so it's going to put a Charger dash in it. That's probably $500 for the gauges used gauges, and then I got to get a dash pad, the glove box and stuff. It needs seats. Charger seats are very expensive. You're probably $800 for a set of buckets that are nice. The rear seat's another $300 or $400. And then it needs a windshield. I have the side glass. I added $3,000 for interior and glass, and an exhaust system, which would be like $400, $500. So I guesstimated, we'll say $3,000 for interior and exhaust. So now we're up to $19,700. And then it's not even a Daytona yet. All it is a Charger, right? So now we got to turn it into a Daytona. More money. So the Janet kit, which would be the fiberglass nose, the headlight buckets, the belly pan, the air box, the wing, the fender scoops, not the rear window plug, because I'm going to do my own. But It's hard to tell. Their website's kind of old school, so it's hard to tell the prices without having a catalog. But I'm guessing $4,000 for the Janet kit. We'll add that up. So now we're at $23,700, and the car's in primer now, right? Got to paint it B5 blue. I added almost $2,000 for paint by the time you buy paint and primer and sandpaper and tape and, you know, all the stuff to paint the car. I added like $2,000 to it. So I'm roughly $25,000 for parts and materials and a rebuilt engine. 25 grand. And I forgot. No, this will add in the cost of the car now. If I paid $5,500 for the car, so we'll add $5,500. So essentially, who keeps texting me? Essentially, $30,000 to make this into a completely restored 1969 Dodge Charger Daytona. I don't think that's too bad. 30 grand. You can't go out and buy a painted, rebuilt motor, reskinned, or completely restored 1969 Charger for $30,000. You can't. A Charger RT, which this car would essentially be a Charger RT with a 440 and stuff, a restored, painted Charger RT is like $70,000. So I'm essentially building this car for almost a third, we'll say a third to a half less than a Charger RT. And then it'll be a Daytona on top of that, which should essentially make it even more valuable. So, you know, clone obviously, but still. I don't think, like, granted, that's a lot of money, and I don't know where the money's going to come from, and I might need to sell one of my other cars or two, or get a third job or something, because I don't have $30,000 laying around. I'm broke. Like the pottery, broke. If this was a real 69 Charger, 440 RT Charger, you could barely buy a Charger in this shape with we'll say with an engine. Barely buy a Charger in this shape for $20,000. Barely. I've seen the last few of them. You're buying a roof and a VIN number for like almost $20,000, and you got to do all this work to it. So you're going to add that $30,000 on top of $20,000. You'd have $50,000 if it was a Charger. So I'm saving almost, you know, $20,000 starting with this GTX off the bat. And the only thing that'll be different, because we're going to completely skin it with Charger skin, it's all B-body underneath. The only thing that won't be Charger will be the registration in the windshield and the VIN number will say 69 GTX. But the entire rest of the car will be 1969 Charger and then Charger Daytona. So I don't think I can lose. It's a lot of money. But you know, what does your money buy you nowadays? You can't, like I said 3 times already. You couldn't go out and buy a 69 Charger RT fully restored for $30,000. You can't. They're $70,000. So essentially, for about 30 grand, I'll have this completely restored Dodge Charger Daytona clone car that, you know, you can't even, nobody can build you one for that. You can't buy one for that. It's going to be is what it is. So that's just a little exercise. Facts and figures, numbers. There you go. Let's go back to the C10. Let's dig all the parts out for that. I ordered all this stuff from Raybuck Auto Body Parts, raybuck.com, and you can see key parts is the other box. So Raybuck used some key parts there. So the Raybuck, I got a door skin panel, was in the one box to fix the outer door on the passenger side. But all this stuff is key parts. Here, all the stuff in black, and then that's Tabco. But I got all this from Raybuck. And what I've got is the outer section of floor, which goes back here to tie into the cab mount, which most of this is good. I ordered all these parts for the other truck, which was all rotted here. But it's got the inner rocker and inner rocker here attached to the floor. Full floor pan all the way. I might need to use some of that once I get it blasted if there's holes in the front floor. These pieces here are for patching the inner part of the lower structure. That's heavy. Which could have some rust in it down here, so I've got that panel. These parts here on the other truck are rusted here. That's the part that goes behind the rocker panel there. then I ordered these were just a fender brace. I think these bolt on. Maybe they bolt on behind there. I don't know what the deal is, but I got them too. They're cheap. I did buy front cab supports because they were rusted out on the other truck. Actually, it goes like this, I think. They were rusted out. This is where the bolt goes through here. They weld underneath the floor about like that, which I don't need those because the ones are good on this truck. And then, like I said, I got the cab corners. So I've got all the sheet metal to fix the bottom of this truck, and except for the rocker panels, I'll buy them here in the next couple days and get them shipped in here. But we got plenty of floor pan. Hopefully, this looks pretty solid. I could just get away with just chopping in the very edge of it here, like replace that chunk. I'm going to have to replace the inner rocker most likely once I get this off and get it blasted. It definitely needs it in the front. Maybe the back half's okay. Won't know until we know. But at least I've got this whole panel here. Back in there, there's some pitting, but I think it's solid. But if it blasts out and gets rusty, I've got that all the way back to replace all that. These are good heavy gauge parts. They're like the same as original material. The Tabco cab corners, they go all the way up. Here I don't need anywhere near that much. The cab corner, I'm just going to replace the rusty part probably. I don't even know if that's bent rusty. So I'll probably just come right across here and just replace this lower section here because it's only rotted on the very bottom. Wherever it goes, I'll just probably replace the bottom like 6 inches. I don't need to put the whole pan in. And that was one of the quandaries with the brown truck is somebody had already put cab corners and rocker panels in it, and they did a very poor job doing it. The rocker panels were actually too high. They hit the bottom of the doors, so they must have put them in when the doors are off. Obviously, if you're replacing big panels like rocker panels and cab corners, you always want to have your doors mounted on the truck and adjusted to the truck before you weld them in. Like you can put them in and tack them, and then you can weld them later if you want to take the doors back off to do some of the other work, but you can't just randomly weld them on and then put the door in later. You'll have a big problem. So I'll be and also on the other truck, they replaced that cab corner. They put the full thing in all the way up to here, and then they overlapped the seam, and it was starting to rust, and I would have had a heck of a time replacing that. So I'm going to do the minimal amount of patching. Like I don't need all this is good. Like I said, just the lower like 6 inches. I mean, it is what it is. You don't need to use the whole patch panel. Like if I wanted to put this floor pan in and the floor pan blasts up good, I don't need to change the entire floor panel. I could just change the outer edge if I have to. Like the rest of it, if it's solid, it'll be good. So we got that. And then, like I said, I got the whole inner panel there I showed you there. This has got rusted. This panel here, you can buy this here, and it's probably thin. I might be able to make it with my brake, actually, but I'll probably end up replacing this piece once I get it out. I'm going to cut this out first, so when the blaster blasts, they can blast the whole inside of the roof skin along that front edge and get all down to bare metal. Then I'll paint the inside of the roof, and I'll put the kill mat on the inside of the roof before I put the skin in. That way I'll have some sound deadening in the roof, just like I did on my brown Dodge truck. It worked out really good. Right now you've got a tin can sound, and my brown Dodge has got a solid thud. This cab's all tinny. I'm going to kill mat the whole inside, all behind the seat and all that. Probably the firewall, the roof, inside the doors and stuff, like quiet it right down. The kill mat's the way to go. So there we go, a big pile of sheet metal. Like I said, it should be enough to fix this truck. I'll order up some rocker panels. So there we go, a big pile of sheet metal. It should be enough to fix the bottom of the truck, like I said. I'll go ahead and I'll order some rockers here tomorrow or whatever, get the rockers coming, and then in the meantime I can cut this open, get it blasted. It'll probably take like a week or so for them to blast it, get it back to me, depending on how busy they are. Get it back. I'll order some primer. I'll prime it in the meantime. Get some weld through primer for down here for the inner rockers and stuff. And then I also need a bushing kit, body mount bushings, because I don't have any of those. I'll order a body bushing kit. And then we can set the cab. I'll probably lay it on its back. We want to get it back, paint the bottom of it black, and then we'll bolt it right on the frame. We'll just work on it right on the frame, just like it is. Apologize, didn't have time to do any work, but that's how it goes. I'm about at the end of my extended overtime action at work. I got all the stuff I need to get done pretty much done now, and so I'll be able to dial back and get some more shop time in here. Every weekend has been shot. I got a couple more car shows coming up. We got a real cool event I'm going to go to in a couple weeks with Ted, taking the dragster to it. Stay tuned for that. It's in September. I also need to put the roof on my house, which I've been neglecting, and that's going to be a lot of work. I probably got to take some time off from actual work, like 3 or 4 days to tack that, and I don't know. Anyways, thanks for watching. Send money. Send help. Broke. You saw it. Need to start playing scratch offs. Get them scratchers, baby. Gang, gang. Rub them out. See if we can get a winner. Or maybe AMD will send me all the stuff. We can do a sponsorship. That'd be cool. I'd be like, hey, bro, just need $10,000 worth of parts for a 69 Charger. Help me out. I don't know. That's what the big guys do. For me, it's got to come right out of here. Like, oh, there's nothing. Oh, boy. Well, if I'm not bankrupt by the next video, I'll see you then.